This video is sponsored by Wingfox. So, as you all know, I previously mentioned that I wanted to get into painting, and just my luck, the perfect course just popped up. And by the way, there is a deal that you can get with the code. It's in the description if you guys want to check it out. This is by Fishman. They participated in numerous products for like comic coloring, mobile games, posters, game cards, and illustration paintings. It's a course in advanced skills for concept design, and they'll share everything that they know. And get this, it's beginner friendly. So in this course they use Photoshop, but I don't think you will particularly need Photoshop, though they do go a lot in depth about brushes and such. So they show you different different brushes for like higher quality drawings and such. Though they will show you matte painting skills, which is something I totally want to learn. They're going to be sharing you 7 major techniques in matte painting skills with a detailed introduction. They're going to stimulate multiple weapons, characters, and they're going to show you how to master each of these skills. I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, I can't do that, I'm just a beginner, I'm just a newbie, I'm just a baby. But you totally can, because this course is beginner friendly. So all the way from beginner to advanced, they will be showing you how to do this. They also have simulation projects, and they teach you great tips in lightings, shadowing, and anatomy. They also teach you a semi-mechanical painting method for your comics, which honestly for me is a big hype since I was recently making little comics. And also I want to make little emotes for my YouTube, which is what this very simple coloring method is what's going to help you. So, just want to let you guys all know, this is 100% beginner friendly. They do use Photoshop, but I'm pretty sure you can get away with doing other things. This course is basically full of multiple different skills. So, I hope that you guys find this useful, and please check out the description for the code. And yeah. Hey, how's all my dinos doing? Anyways, so this was something I got requested a lot. As you know, I make a lot of custom brushes. So I'm showing you guys how to make custom brushes of your own. Keep in mind, this isn't like the ultimate tutorial. This is just me sharing everything that I know. Anyway, so obviously we start off with a blank canvas. I have no idea why my screen has like a black overlay. So as you see, I have a lot of brushes. And I even made some new brushes. So we're going to just pick a random one. Also, it's best to always pick something that you want to be closest to. Like, if you want a line art brush, then you better pick like a brush that seems close as possible to what you want. I always put force fade out for some reason. A lot of these are simple. I have no idea why they have it in basic and fade, but thickness of start, opacity of start, a lot of these are pretty self-explanatory. I never use blurring, but I just decide to see what it does. But I'm here to admit that I don't know the majority of these settings. So that basically just lets you guys know that you don't need to know these settings either. You could live your life being ignorant as heck, and you can still make nice art. So, since this is a line art brush, I am picking the brush pattern, which I don't want something soft, I want something hard. Now the jitter is, well, you know, it's jitter. It's kind of like spreading out a bunch of stuff. I'm just using a little bit of jitter just so that I can have a bit of texture on my line brush, since I don't like to have like very clean lines. That makes sense. So I will admit I have no idea what the difference between mono and water is. Actually, I literally just discovered what it was today while I was filming this. I'm like, what does this do? Oh, this is what it does. And then double, as you can see, it basically gives you an outline. So spacing, I always put spacing usually to 0 or as low as possible. Pattern opacity, since this is a solid brush, we want pattern opacity to be at like 100%. Now, I don't really mess with textures that much. Also the speed thickness, I like to go into the dynamics a bit, since that's basically the faster you move, the thinner the brush gets. Yeah, and they also have the same thing for opacity. but I want my opacity to stay consistent. I usually put my max thickness pretty high, but you don't have to. And look at that. That feels very smooth to me. I don't really mess with the pressure settings on dynamic since I don't have a pressure sensitive pen. I usually use my fingers or that ᴛᴜᴛᴏ Univic pen that I advertised a long time ago. So, and then the last step is to give it a name. Yeah, the screen is cut off. I had to hide something. Anyway, I'm just gonna call it line and then give it an emoji. This emoji part is totally unnecessary. As you can tell, I got an Android. Yeah. I call it lines. Very unique. Anyways, so that might be my new line art pen. Yeah. Anyways, I'll put the code of everything in the back. You can also mess around with your settings for force fade and stabilizer. I usually have force fade on, but I decided that maybe I don't want it because I didn't like that the back of the brush was thicker than the end of the brush. So I just decided to do that because it'll probably make both sides equally as thick. And now we are going to export the brush because you want it in your custom so it's always easily accessible. What you're going to do is you're going to click export. Then you're going to import it, just like this. Also, a couple more things. As I said, I don't know the majority of these things, and the main thing to making a brush is just changing a little setting, going back to the canvas, brushing, seeing how that feels, then just going back and forth again and again, messing with settings, brush, messing with settings, brush, like again and again and again, just so that you can like start to feel. Anyway, we're gonna make a watercolor brush. So, I do not like that at all. That doesn't feel like watercolor, it feels like a messy crayon to me. So, that felt a little better since you want to go to a default brush, make the brush as like similar to what you want as possible. I really like the watercolor mix, and that's when I just discovered what the water setting was. It's because I had to put the color mix higher. I'm not exactly sure what the wetness is, but the drag, I guess that it was like if you dragged a blue brush through red, that it would kind of drag the red more. So as you see, I'm just poking around with settings, going back and forth. This is one of my first times ever trying to make a painting brush, since I kind of want to get more into backgrounds. I want my backgrounds to have a painting-ish look, because I can't do clean backgrounds with like line art and stuff. I just can't. I mean, I can if I tried, maybe. I don't know. So, see, I'm just going back and forth, testing out with different colors. My goal for this brush is that they all blend. I have absolutely no idea what that lighter watercolor setting did. I'm just gonna pretend I know, but I really don't. So, this just shows you that you don't need to know every single aspect of your program in order to make good brushes. You just gotta know the necessities. But what are the necessities? I have absolutely no idea. So I put this to where the slower you stroke, the more paint there will be, versus the faster stroke, they'll be very like, the opacity will be less. The reason I did that was because I tried to mimic real life watercolor. Sad fact, I never actually drew with watercolor, but I like to pretend I did. So I like to lower the opacity a bit and the opacity at the end to start. Just, you know. So the spacing, I usually want spacing to be 0, but I will lower the opacity for a softer look. And so far I am loving the brush. Still just want to point out that the whole thing about the brush, to make your own custom brushes, it's just drawing something. Also, I'm gonna give it a weird name. Look, I put water because I'm so creative. Yeah. And I'm doing the import-export kind of thingy. So, I made 3 new brushes. I will probably use them for backgrounds, because, to be honest with you, I'll most likely just like color my sketch whenever I do a drawing. So this whole thing is just you draw, and then you go back to edit the brush, then you draw again. And also make sure to experiment with different colors, usually what's opposite of the color scale. Like if you draw with green, then make sure to like go to purple to see if they blend well or something, depending on the type of brush you're making. I'm referring to like painting brush. So as you see, I made painting brush, I made watercolor, and I made lines. How many line art brushes did I make? I like to just make a bunch of brushes to try to make it easier. Like, you know what, if I got the perfect brush, I can make good line art. It's like, no. Dina, you need to face the facts. You're just really bad at line art. And that's okay, because I kind of like the look of messy line art. I didn't really like the feel of this brush too much, so I went back in, I turned off force fade, and that was a little better. Thickness at the end and stuff. You know, you could just go back in and do little changes. I also noticed that I like to do changes over the course of, like, after a week of trying the brush, I'm like, you know what, this little thing bothers me. And then I try to go in and fix it. So, yeah. Anyway, here's the painting brush for a painting look. Here's the lines brush that we just made. And then the watercolor brush. So, keep in mind, I have no idea what I'm doing most of the time, but apparently you guys look up to me, so I'm just gonna like tell you everything that I know, which actually isn't a lot, so hopefully this helped you. Yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna make a new event on this channel soon. Have a good night, day, or wherever you are. Take care, everyone, and don't forget to check out Wingfox. Yeah, that would be a big help to me. Since I'm gonna be taking on paintings, I decided to like try to mimic some painting brushes. So, yeah. See ya!